Hello, Canada. Hello, United States of America. Greetings to each and every one of you all over the planet. My name is Kevin J. Johnston. This is the Kevin J. Johnston Show, running every single Tuesday, 7 p.m. Calgary time, 9 p.m. Toronto time. We got to dive right into this, everybody, because we have a hell of a show tonight. We've got the astounding and amazing Dr. Z, our foremost Muslim scholar here in Alberta, is going to be talking about the Israeli and Palestinian conflict. Chris Sky is going to be joining us also to discuss getting kicked out of the United States of America. How does Canada's most famous individual right now, aside from Jordan Peterson, get kicked out of the United States of America? We're going to find all of that out, everybody. Alrighty. Eduardo, you're going to come on right now. We're going to talk about something incredible. Let's bring this meme up right now. Okay. This, because it's kind of accurate, isn't it? Ready? Iran obviously wants war. All right. So, Iran, if you don't want war, stop building your country so close to American military bases. All right. Well, we know that the Biden administration is certainly not the Trump administration. Biden is certainly no Trump. And Doughy Joey Biden, who does duty in his pants and whatnot, at least that's what we all think, and has absolutely no idea where he is most of the time, wants war. Well, I think Kamala Harris wants war with Iran. So they have talked about doing something, Eddie, that you and I have talked about in the past, and that is the draft. They're going to bring back the draft because all of the men, not all, but a lot of the men in the military in the United States, and definitely most in Canada, they're not men anymore. How many videos have we seen now, Ed, where male U.S. soldiers, men, are twerking in full uniform? Yeah.
Hang on. You got to be a little bit more gender specific there, Kevin.
Well, males. I don't care about this gender.
Biological males, people that identify as being males,
We'll just
people
call
that
them
should be
biological.
males, but they're
I
messed
knew
up in
you'd
the
say
head.
this. I knew you'd say this. We'll say biological males because they're not men. All right. They happen to be born with XY chromosomes. And that's really about all that discerns them from teenage girls, really. So the Biden administration realizes if they do decide to go to war with Iran, other countries will follow. It'll probably become a war, and the draft would then lead us to guys like this, barely guys. Like this is not even a guy. So if we're ready, let's hear what this guy has to say. This is a Gen Zer who's talking about the fact that he won't cooperate with the draft. Here we go.
Why is everybody saying Gen Z is going to get drafted? Like, no, the fuck we're not. And you know why I know that? Because we're just going to say no. Like, how are they going to actually force us to get up and go to war? I understand it was like that in like the 1940s. What else is there to do in 1940 besides shoot people? We have things to do nowadays. We have twerk, be bisexual, eat hot chip, lie. And we're also like really mentally ill. I have like 6 of these. What makes you think I'm qualified to have a gun? Like within 600 feet of anybody, including myself. And finally, like guns are like so tacky. Like, can you imagine just like pulling up with a gun? Like that is so fucking embarrassing. Like, what is this? The Revolutionary fucking War? No. Like, let's just chat. Let's just talk. There's no need for all the like no. No. It's not gonna happen, don't worry.
Oh my God. I don't know what to say. Turn on your microphone. All right. First off, like most people, this kid says, "Oh, well, we can just talk. We can just take this 3,000-year-old conflict. We can just talk about it because guns are tacky. Guns are tacky." Well, and you know what? This kid is representative of what males are today. That's not a man. It's a male. That's what a male is today. So if you're going to be drafting that, how screwed are you? And he's right. Most of these kids are on pills that they don't need, but they're doing this stuff willingly. And he says there's more important things to do, like being bisexual. What the hell does that have to do with anything? Now, I get the fact that I won't go to war in Iran or Iraq. I have zero interest in the Biden administration's interests in that region. it's not a war that's close to home, I wouldn't fight it. But that is representative of what we have available to us to fight in the military. So, I mean, imagine, Ed, having Iran invade the United States and that's defending it. Imagine that is defending American Air Force bases right now in the Middle East. That's what's defending it. Okay. Yeah, you got to get rid of that dog, dude. Okay, so anyway, your thoughts.
The dog's got the zoomies. I don't know what to do. I just ran the thing for an hour and a half at high speed, fed it, and now it's
Whiskey,
going nuts again.
whiskey. Get the dog some whiskey. But I'm terrified by that video. I mean, the video is amusing because that thing is what's in charge of the court system. That thing is representative of government in North America, the administration in North America. Police officers are like that guy. So I mean, cops like that, he's right. They should not have guns. They should not have body armor. They should not be in a position of authority in any way. But how do we defend ourselves in the Western world with that being at the forefront? Go ahead.
Look, first of all, this kid is a product of his environment. His teachers did this to him. His parents allowed this to happen to him. And even if his parents are right wingers, they're more conservative types. They're probably just too busy making a living, and they figure, well, you know what? Not that bad. Do we really have to do anything? Like, yeah, we'll let it slide, or we'll grow out of it. No, no, no. I've seen
Yeah.
this with my own in-laws.
Yeah, actually, you make a good point there, John. Send those weak kids first. Draft them at threat of lifetime of prison, and send them over there because honestly, like that kid's not going to reproduce. And if he does, what's it going to bring to the table in the way of a child? I mean, he wouldn't raise the kid properly. That his kids would have no discipline whatsoever. His kids will end up running his life. Period. And there's a couple of ladies that I have in my life who are friends of mine who are dating adult males like this, where it's, oh, we could just talk. Let's just it's all like peace, okay? Like just like let's have peace. Stop fighting. Stop arguing. Stop it, okay? Everyone, just like let's have peace, okay? Now, what do these left-wing nuts have to offer countries around the world to get them to stop fighting? They just think you're going to stop fighting because we say so. And he's eating apple slices with caramel while he's delivering this information. My God.
You ever heard the term cannon fodder?
I have.
There you go.
I've actually also heard the term involuntary organ donor. I've heard that one. And this guy should be exactly one of those. Ugh. So there you go, America, Canada.
Okay, perfect example about environment. You seen the guy that got killed on the ice in England a few days ago?
Yes, I did. I actually watched the footage. I debated whether or not to put that footage on the show. I've said to myself, no, Facebook, Twitch will take it down. So, but it's pretty gruesome. And Andrew Johnson was the guy's name who got his throat slashed on the ice. It looked pretty damn deliberate to me.
This guy's had a habit of raising his leg like that, and it's like people don't kill people. Skates kill people.
Mm-hmm.
It's not his fault. It's the skates. They were too sharp, obviously.
Well, that's newer skate sharpening technology. Ed allows for skates to be that sharp, so the players can turn like this now. But that guy deliberately raised his leg, and he should be in prison right now, at least awaiting a bail hearing for manslaughter.
Or is the guy just too stupid to realize those skates are sharp?
Oh, it'd make a difference. You raise your leg at someone's throat, you cut their throat with a skate, you should be in prison. That's it.
I think.
Done.
Okay, I bet you the people on the left are going to go after the guy that sharpen those skates, because had they been dull skates, that kid would still be alive.
Yeah, but with the speed of the game, you can't have dull skates. The only one who does is the goaltender. Look, I know, Ed. I used to referee and coach hockey for 30 years. I can tell you all about skate technology and so on. What I can tell you as a referee, I would have reviewed that footage afterwards and given him a match penalty and then gone to the league myself and said, this guy needs to be suspended for life. I would have advocated for that as a referee. As a referee, I've actually had to ruin the seasons for some kids that are just absolutely vicious and vile. Some people are born bad. And that, if folks watch it for yourself, I may or may not put it on my Gab account, but it's gruesome and it was deliberate. Look, let's get into this Israel Palestine conflict, everybody. And
Ha-
what we need to
Hang on.
do here, don't hang on me anymore. I hate that nonsense. Go ahead. You got 30
Wait a
seconds.
second.
What?
The point I'm trying to make is these people are a product of their environment. So somewhere this guy got the idea that it's okay to raise their leg and slice people's throats with his skates. And now the left is saying, oh, it was an accident. Bull.
No, it's not. It was deliberate. And I think all of you should watch it for yourself and make your own judgments. Let's get into the Israel Palestine conflict. Dr. Z, our Muslim connection, he's just doing his evening prayers. He'll be with us in just a very few minutes. Chris Sky will be joining us in also a very few minutes. Okay, good. I decided to just compress 3,000 years of history. It's going to take me about 6 minutes to get through all this. Ed, I'll let you. I'll let you just sit back, relax, probably have 4 or 5 more cigarettes, maybe 12 or 13, and I will get through this. All right. So we got to go back to 1700 BC, everybody. The patriarchs of the Jewish people, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they settled in what's called Canaan, which is present day Israel, West Bank, Gaza, some of Lebanon, some of Syria, and some of Jordan. All right. The area was settled that long ago, 1700 BC. The region was later named the land of Israel, but also known as Palestine and also known as the Holy Land. So it had 3 names back then, this region. 3, and they were just names at the time, everyone. In 1000 BC, King Saul established the Israelite monarchy. So he decided to go with the name Israel and not Palestine. It was ruled by King David, who made Jerusalem the capital of the kingdom. And then we had the son of the king, King Solomon, who built Solomon's temple in Jerusalem. So they all said Jerusalem is going to be the capital. We're Israelis. That's what we are. And this happened in 1000 BC, 700 years after the initial naming of the place. In 931 BC, Israel was split into 2 kingdoms, the kingdom of Israel in the north with Samaria as the capital, and the kingdom of Judah in the south with Jerusalem as its capital. Both nations collectively became home to the majority of the populace being Jews. Remember, Islam did not exist at this point, all right? Jews. Christianity did not exist at this point. These religions did not exist. So, and I'm not saying right or wrong, I'm just telling you the way that things are. All right. Then it was subject to conquest by various groups outside of the region because that's what human beings do. We see something that we want, we kill, and we take it, la di da. And that's what happened to the folks in that region. Sorry, folks. I think we got Chris Sky texting me here. There we go. Next, the significant decrease in the population of Jews happened in the region because they were being killed, and they also decided to leave the area. Now, in 63 BC, the Roman Empire entered the area and renamed Judah to Palestine. And he did that specifically to break the Jewish connection to that plot of land, all right, because the Romans had their own agenda. And that was they had Roman stuff, laws, and patriarchies and whatnot, but they also, some of them were involved with Christianity. So if you want to take over a region, you have to weaken the religion in that area, period. In the year 636, and now this is after Islam shows up in the world, Muslim warriors moved westward throughout Europe and Northern Africa. So we know that the history was that the Islamic raiding parties got into those areas and caused wars. And of course, the Christians fought back and so on. So the Dome of the Rock in this era was built on the ruins of the Second Temple, making Jerusalem the holy city for 3 religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. All 3 laid claim to that being the holiest site in the world. This is human beings, folks. This is what human beings do. We all argue over the same things. So after Christians in Jerusalem were persecuted heavily by the Seljuk Turks, the Crusades were launched in the 11th century to expel Islam and Turkish influence from Europe, and they wanted to take back the holy city. They didn't do very well with all of this, but they still did their very best to do so. All right. As there were 3 monolithic religions vying for that land, Many Jews died in a three-way triangular wars: Christians, Jews, Jews, Muslims, Muslims, Christians. Everybody was kind of killing absolutely everybody in the region. Um, this is what I'm saying. This goes back, like way back, everybody. Way. And Z's got a lot of information on this as well. From 1517 to 1917, everyone, modern day Israel and Palestine. Now, keep in mind, these are still not countries, right? They were not labeled countries yet. It was a region, but not countries. It was all ruled by the Ottoman Empire, which was the Islamic superpower, right? The Ottoman Empire reigned for 400 years as an Islamic superpower, but did not ever declare Israel or Palestine a country in that period. While this was going on, Zionism became a movement, a political and religious movement in which Jews had stated that they were looking for a Jewish state. Naturally, they voted to do so in the Holy Land. Now, keeping in mind that even though this region was under Ottoman Empire rule, there were still Christians and there were still Jews in the area. There were still Muslims in the area, and the Jews decided this is what they wanted. So between 1900 and 1910, tens of thousands of Jews decide to move back into the region. World War I was like the quintessential factor in the collapse of the Ottoman Empire. So the land in the Middle East was then divided between the British and the French. The British began relenting on their control, and they gave selected areas to Iraq and Jordan. So the Brits, they just didn't know what to do with this region. They had it, but didn't know what to do with it. So in now what is modern day Israel, it was then known as the British, the exact term, the British Mandate for Palestine, because again, they just did not know what to do. They didn't understand the region's history, nor the culture, nor the religions in the area. So the Brits called it Palestine because there was old scriptures and old scrolls that said Palestine was the name. But keep in mind that the name Palestine still came from the Romans prior to the birth of Christ. Right? This this is just history, folks. This is not an opinion, by the way. I'm just going through the historical records. Opinions are coming shortly. The region was supposed to become, according to the Balfour Declaration, everyone, a Jewish state. Now that came into effect in 1923. But Jews and Arabs, they both claimed the land as their own. Uh-oh, what do we do? So more Jews entered the area because the Germans began persecuting them prior to World War II. 1937. At this point, the Jews had formed militias to fight the Arabs and the British because the British were also trying to stop Jews from moving into the area. So now we have another triangular three-way battle. Everyone's fighting everybody for this piece of land. Then World War II broke out. Now we know the history there. I'm not getting into it. After World War II, persecution still took place, so Jews left Europe to go to the Palestinian region, which further led to more tensions and conflict. Of course it will. 1942 to 1944, the Brits began to withdraw from the region because they had no way to control it, and they had no way to control the skirmishes taking place within it. And they were losing a lot of men and a lot of influence, a lot of money. So they left. The United Nations proposed a plan to partition the region into two independent states, one being Jewish and one being an Arab state. In this plan, Jerusalem was supposed to be an international zone, and that was not going to be governed by either party. The problem was this: the UN screwed up. So they said in 1947, the division was going to be 56% favor of Jews and 44% Arab. And the Arabs did not voluntarily sign this agreement. They refused. So after that 1947 declaration of Israel having a two-state solution here, Israel in 1948 declared themselves an independent nation. They just said we're independent, which led to the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. So Egypt, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq were all part of the war. They invaded the territory to try to establish Palestine as a free roaming territory, but also a country. And 1949, a ceasefire was reached. Now, in this deal, and this is where the Arab League kind of screwed up, 2/3 of the region, as opposed to half or 56%, 2/3 of it now became under control of Israel, with Jordan retaining the West Bank. Egypt occupied the Gaza Strip after that deal was reached. So the Al Nakba, and Dr. Z will be talking about that, happened the same year. Now, that was the forcible removing of 700,000 plus Arabs from what they call Palestinian land. And that's never going to end well for anybody. When you move that many people that quickly, never going to be a good thing. For the next decade and a half, there were skirmishes and terror attacks all over Israel and the land referred to as Palestine. They just didn't like each other. They didn't get along. Both sides were issuing attacks against each other. In 1967, that was the Six-Day War, which was between Israel, Egypt, Jordan, and Syria. Now, Israel won that one by destroying all the airfields. They did it very quickly. And what had happened is they ended up getting the Golden Heights from Syria. That was a kind of a strange move. They got the West Bank and eastern Jerusalem from Jordan, and they got Gaza and the entire Sinai Peninsula from Egypt. So let me just show you that on a map, everybody. I think I've got, yes, I do have Google Maps here. So let me bring that in just to give you an idea of what I am referring to here. So where are we? Google Maps. So let's add to it. All right, this here, this big piece of land, that's the Sinai Peninsula. All right, that is a pretty hefty piece here. This is the Gaza Strip, this piece here. This is the West Bank. And this area here is what they ended up getting from Syria. So think about that. And these lines have never really been solidified because we still don't have any ratification of these borders, which is kind of sad. All right. And so after the 6 Days War, Jews lived in Israel. Arabs, they were in the region. They were moved to the Gaza Strip. They were moved to the West Bank. Israel returned the Sinai Peninsula to Egypt in 1979 when those two countries decided to enter into a peace treaty. So there was also a large number of Jews, though, settling in the West Bank, and that region, as a result of that, formed the PLO. So you guys remember Yasser Arafat, the Palestinian Liberation Organization? They formed. The PLO had a base in Jordan, and they made the mistake of launching missile attacks into Israel. But due to international pressure, Jordan had to throw them out. So when Jordan threw out the PLO, they went to Lebanon, and they launched guerrilla attacks from there. And that, of course, led to more war and more skirmishes and more battles. So in 1971, Israel invaded Lebanon to kick the PLO out of Beirut. So this is Israel. This is Lebanon. And they moved into Lebanon. They got all the way up the highways here into Beirut to kick out the PLO. So this is Beirut, or Beirut, as they say. All right. I mean, this is crazy, folks. This keeps going. The PLO eventually agreed to divide the land between Israel and Palestine. Palestine was still not yet declared a country, though, at this point. It just wasn't. Between 1972 and 1987, a great number of Jews continued to move into Gaza Strip and into the West Bank. And that, of course, that's like it's buying the land out. Obviously, Palestinians are trying to get their hands on a piece of land to call their own, but the Jews did move in. So this is where Israel made, I would say, an error in judgment. All right. 1987, from the Jabalia refugee camp in the Gaza Strip, a number of attacks against Israel were launched after and this was silly, an Israeli Defense Force truck collided with two Palestinian delivery trucks. And in the accident, 4 Palestinian drivers and passengers died. So this led to another smaller war. This was called the First Intifada. And Dr. Z is going to explain those to us. And after a few hundred deaths, a peace treaty was signed called the Oslo Accord. And one of the accords was signed in Washington. The other one was signed in Egypt. According to the Oslo Accord, the West Bank was divided into 3 areas. All right. Area A was under Palestinian control completely. Area B joined between Israel and Palestine. Area C was under Israeli control, and some of the region was actually annexed by Israel. Again, here's the West Bank. This is Israel. All this area here, Gaza Strip, West Bank. So this area here was hotly contested. In the year 2000, peace talks continued. The Jews and the Arabs could not agree on the status of Jerusalem. Was Jerusalem the capital of Israel or the West Bank, or was it to remain neutral? Nobody could agree, period. So Ariel Sharon, he was a Jewish Israeli who later became the prime minister of Israel. He went to the Temple Mount in Jerusalem for his own reasons. I don't know what they are. Palestinians found this incredibly offensive, and so the second intifada broke out. In 2005, the skirmishes ended with Israel's withdrawal from Gaza, but they continued settling the West Bank. So, with all the headway that gets made, they kept settling the land. So, Hamas, now this is where it gets a bit complex. Hamas is a Sunni Islamic militant group, and they've made various public declarations that they wish to destroy the state of Israel and create a full Islamic state within those lands. Hamas went to war with the PLO of all things, and with Fatah, or Fatah, I think is how you pronounce it. Z will correct me on that. So the PLO ended up with complete control of Gaza. That's bizarre. When this happened, Israel put Gaza under a blockade in 2007, which led to a few more skirmishes and smaller wars. Okay, so here, let me zoom in. The Gaza Strip, a circular blockade here would have meant that no supplies came into Gaza from Israel and no ships here would have been allowed to cross the blockade because the Israelis had their ships blocking the entire thing. So the wars that were created by this blockade were called Operation Cast Lead in 2008 and 2009, followed by Operation Pillar of Defense in 2012, and then Operation Protective Edge in 2014. So in 2014, Hamas and Fatah, they reached an agreement to form a national unity government. Ooh, this is where Hamas is now in charge. Oh, all right. In 2018, the U.S. Embassy was moved from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. That was Trump did that. Immediately, Palestinian Arabs stated that America was intervening and was going to implement Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, which I'm pretty sure was the plan. 2021, the conflict between the Gaza Strip and Israel was resumed after a lot of violent acts that took place in East Jerusalem until May of 2021, until Egypt, Qatar, and the United Nations brokered another peace deal. And here we are in 2023, and here's our good friend Dr. Z to talk about 2023 now, and we're going to get right into this. Brother, it's so good to see you. I haven't seen you in so long. How have you been?
Hello, Kevin. How are you doing? I've been doing all right. Alhamdulillah, can't complain. Doing better than a lot of other people. I'm just getting a little